All right, we're live, baby. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's Friday. I like to say casual Friday. Feel a little bit looser on Friday. I like it. Good day to good day to have an awesome conversation with Chris Breen here. Whoop.
Yeah. I just got back to my office from voting, and it's like a ghost town out there. I don't know if anybody even works here on Fridays, to be honest with you. It's like 4:00 here, so in their defense, like most of them scatter. So
yeah, that's funny. I mean, my husband had a meeting. Somebody scheduled a really intense meeting at 4:00 last Friday for him. He's like, "Who does that?"
Who does that, right? We're gonna have a fun conversation. That's about all we're gonna do. So
yeah, I love it.
yeah.
Well, cool. Feeling good today? I'll brand it out as always. I love it.
Feeling great. I was worried I wasn't gonna get like voting done. I leave for Vegas tomorrow, and I'm gone all next week, and I was like calculating the minutes driving back to the office to get on this call, and I'm like, all right, it's all worked out perfect. So I voted.
Perfect. You guys, if you're listening, he was literally here exactly on time. I was so impressed. I really need to start getting places 15 minutes before. Like I need to tell myself, oh, that appointment is like 15 minutes before. That way I'm not like right there on time. And you know. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's get to it. I'm gonna do the intro here. And hopefully we get some people popping in. We go live. So if people have questions and stuff like that, they could, ask away and, we can answer them.
Fantastic.
All right.
I need to move my my props into frame a little better.
Yeah. Love it. Like the red light.
DECKx Talks.
Are you guys loving the red still?
Us? Yes, I know. Yeah. Even though you were not very enthusiastic, like pick any color for the rebrand except red. You know what's funny?
No, I think it's bold. I think it works well. You guys played it off good.
When we were when we were Deck Masters before the rebrand, everything was yellow, but like nobody like went out and looked for yellow clothing, or like it wasn't like I didn't have yellow shoes. I've got red shoes. I've got all kinds of red shoes now. So.
Yep. Yeah. You got your fit.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh. My daughter would kill me if she heard that I just said that.
This tattoo used to be orange, and I literally had it recolored red.
Oh, get out of here.
I promise. I swear.
He's going to show up with red contacts next time.
No, that would be terrible.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the We Love Deck Builders podcast. I'm your host, April Edwards, and today I'm thrilled to have Chris Breen, founder of Legacy Decks Academy, with us. He's going to be talking about the upcoming DECKx Talks happening at DeckExpo in Dallas in a couple of weeks. So,
isn't it? It's like a week.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's coming up quick. Woo! Yeah. It's going to be awesome. But so guys, whether you're starting out or just looking to grow, today's episode is packed with all kinds of amazing insights from Chris on how to improve your business and keep pace in this evolving industry. So let's jump in. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Yep. Glad to be here again. Excited to share what's going on, and just glad to be here.
Yeah, we put this podcast together pretty quickly, huh? I'm pretty impressed with us.
I was literally walking my neighborhood last night, checking emails, and saw your email. I'm like, hey, let's do that.
It's called fast to implement. That's how you win.
Yeah. Decision velocity. Like the quicker you can make decisions, the better you will be. Sometimes they'll be wrong, but you can course correct quicker, So.
All right, guys. If you don't listen to the rest of the podcast, like, you got your juicy nugget.
There you go.
Cool. Well, for everyone listening, I'm really interested for you to tell us a little bit about Legacy Decks Academy, which obviously is, the mastermind behind the DECKx Talks, and really interested to know what led you to create a coaching program specifically for deck builders.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to go back even further than before the Academy, which is like with Legacy Decks. I mean, Legacy Decks is kind of the testing ground for everything that I now teach inside of the Academy. And so started Legacy Decks about 8 years ago, and was just trying to figure it all out. I went through the school of hard knocks like a lot of guys. Just, I was doing all the things. I was estimating, I was project managing, I was doing takeoffs, I was tarping a roof if the rain came in too quick. Like I was doing everything. And it got to a point where I was like, all right, enough's enough. And so I took a step that I hadn't done in my previous businesses, which was I hired a coach. there's two ways you can get somewhere. You can figure it out on your own, or you can follow in somebody else's footsteps. And, the value in following a coach for me was not only did I learn from the things that he was successful in, but he helped me avoid some of the things that he screwed up. Right. And if there's one thing I bring to the table, it's definitely I've done all of this wrong for a long time. I'll be 47 years old this year. My first real contracting business, I started in 2004, from 2004 to 2013. And I just got burned out. I was doing everything in the business, and literally just kind of, it was either, I was lucky enough to sell that business, but, getting back into business with Legacy DECKx in 2016, I guess, I decided I was going to do it different. And so within a year or two of us really getting going, I hired a coach. And I worked with him for about 4 years, essentially implementing what I call now is like a business operating system. And he helped me do that. Now, the difference between him and me is like he didn't have a deck business. So while he was able to come in and help me, analyze things from a different level, kind of have that third party perspective, he doesn't have anything emotionally involved in my business, but he hadn't solved the problems that I had to solve in my deck business. Like, how do I handle doing takeoffs? How do I handle hiring a project manager for that? How do I pay my subcontract? Like, he hadn't solved these problems. And so, that took about 4 years with him to really get to a place where I didn't have a job inside of the company anymore, which kind of, leads into where did the academy come to be? Probably about 3 years ago, I found myself in just the.
Hold on. You've gotten so many good things. I just got to reinforce a couple of them. Yeah. First of all, you recognize a moment in your life that you were like, we need to change this. This isn't going to work. You were grinding. And so you took the initiative to get support. Yeah. Which is the first thing. Yep. And then the other thing I heard is within 4 years of starting this new business, it's running without you. Yeah. Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, guys, who wants that? Seriously, 4 years.
It's insane. Like, April, I never had a vision for being in this place where, I had 2 project managers hired this year while I was in Fiji. Okay. I never read the resume. I didn't put a job posting out. I didn't do any phone calls with them. I didn't do any in-person interviews. I didn't do any skills testing. I didn't even make the offers to hire them. And that's the key. Like, the reason that happened is because this is what I do in the academy. I took all of the systems that I had and that Amy had. Amy, obviously, my wife, is a huge part of this. We took the system that we had for hiring, we extracted it from our brains, we got it on paper so that we could teach someone else how to do it. And now, in that case there, Jonathan, my head of operations, he literally did all of those steps. He managed the Indeed posting. He managed the resumes. He had the phone calls. He brought him in for the interviews. He did the skills testing. The only thing I did is literally while I was in Fiji, Jonathan was texting me about some negotiations for salaries. And it was like, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? And it was just a quick text and boom. I didn't meet these guys until they came into my office for their onboarding. Right. And so that's the value of, you talk about, does anybody want that? Like, I didn't even think that was a possibility when I was, 7-8 years ago. And so, for those of you out there that, like, you're grinding, you're hustling, and you're willing to do the work, I just want to challenge you that, like, you might need to step back and see, like, what's the work I should be doing? And do I need a third-party perspective, like a coach, like a mentor, even heck, just some of the deck builder groups that are out there, like the mastermind that you have together? Like, there's so much value. One of the things I like to say is none of us is as smart as all of us, right? As much knowledge as I have, when I bring my academy members here every quarter, we've got 30 plus deck builders in the room that all have different experience and knowledge. Like, that room is super powerful. So none of us is as smart as all of us. So I've traveled about 110 days this year, which is that creates its own chaos, right? I used to have the chaos of, like, scarcity and having to work all the time. Now it's like November, I'm only in town for like 6 days. Like, I had a meeting with my team and I'm like, hey, I'll be here 6 days. Like, let me know what you need. But yeah, so I didn't even have a vision for that. So yeah, that's worth pointing out. I think I take for granted a little bit, kind of where I'm at now, that the business just doesn't need me. So
yeah, I want to, I'm wondering from you, just because, I've had coaches too. I'm in such an amazing coaching program right now. And the same for me. My whole life has changed since I found the right people to support me. But I also think that as a coach, like you kind of learn from your people too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm learning
Hmm.
from them all the time. You know,
Yeah.
we've got not only my business that's a testing ground, but what works in my business may not work in every market. Pay rates are different in different markets. The infrastructure for your municipalities is different. Like, yeah, absolutely. And so that's why the value, like you're part of a mastermind, because you not only get the coaching from, I think you're in Josh's mastermind,
Hmm.
which actually Josh and I are in a mastermind together. So
I know.
funny enough. But yeah, so you learn probably just as much from the other people in the room as well. So that's the value. Like, it's not just like when you work with us at the academy, yeah, you're getting the insight from me, from Amy, from my team, from what we've done at Legacy, but you're also getting insights from guys like John Lee and Bruce and Judy Verblau, and like all these other people in the industry that have tons of, I mean, decades and decades of experience. It's fantastic. So highly recommend a coaching program of some kind. So
Yeah. So you the inspiration with the coaching sound, with you starting Legacy DECKx Academy was that you just you wanted to be able to offer something that was more specific, so that people could get an even faster track than what you went through.
yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
you were very inspired by your coach in order to want to do it yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been telling people recently, like, you're literally buying time. Whether you work with me or April or whoever you hire to work with, a lot of times you're buying time. And so that's one resource that you can't get more of. And so most people that work with me or with you, they'll figure stuff out eventually. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of how long does it take and how much does it cost. I'll challenge a lot of people that working with skilled support teams like us is a lot cheaper than the mistakes that you'll make trying to figure it out on your own. Like
Yeah,
that's
but even the price, I mean, price is just one thing. Like at
yeah,
our age, I mean, what's the most important? Like getting rid of stress,
yeah,
making things easy,
yeah,
no frustration. And it's like banging your head on a table, I did
yeah.
that for years before I found this coaching group. And it's so
Yep,
nice
yep,
to know like I could just ask a question and somebody's already been through it. And,
yep,
it
exactly.
it gets rid of the stress, or at
And you
least
bring up a huge
helps
point.
eliminate it a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's really what we do. What we do at the academy is we help people implement systems, we help them build teams, and ultimately all that does is allows them to step back and enjoy some time, some money, and ultimately less stress, right? Because most of the guys that I
Mhm.
talk to and gals that I talk to, it's like not only the time and the money issue, but it's like the stress on their, their mindset, their body, literally every area of their life is affected by, like I said, people are willing to put in the work and hustle. It's just a matter of like stepping back long enough to be able to solve some of the problems that they face inside of the business with systems and being able to hire a team and things like that. So, yeah. So anyway, so the
Yeah.
academy essentially was birthed out of the fact that number one, I didn't really have a role in my company anymore. I didn't sell. I didn't manage. I didn't do takeoffs. I didn't do designs. Customers didn't know who I was anymore. And so it's like, okay, what's next? And it was around about that time. And my wife and I, we've always had a passion for coaching and mentoring. We do that with our team. But Mike from Nadra reached out and asked us probably 3 years ago if we would help deliver some education at the awards, and that was really kind of like the tipping point, the hinge pin to like. We didn't have a name for our coaching program before the awards. We had to come up with something. So like, well, we own Legacy DECKx. It's the Legacy DECKx Academy. So that
Mm.
essentially was
Isn't
kind of
it
where it
isn't
all
it
came from.
isn't it amazing how you you could get things done when you have a deadline?
Mm. That's for sure. That's for sure. Speaking of which, you got your book out now? Was
Oh my
the
gosh.
Deck Expo kind of like the deadline to get the book out?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I hope that I hope that people it resonates with people and, helps them and no matter where they are in their
yeah,
business. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome, awesome.
So did you see Garden Structure said, "Hey Chris."
Hey,
You
what's
want to
up?
say
No, I didn't
hi?
realize the comments were there. Fantastic. I'll start looking for that.
Cool.
So
So let's talk about the DeckX Talks because
yeah,
I mean, this is what's happening. I think you got so much value to bring, and I really wanted to have you on so that you could talk about that a little bit more. So
yeah.
um, you kind
So
of
yeah,
you briefed on the inspiration behind starting DeckX Talks a little bit, but yeah, tell us more about that and like what you're hoping to achieve out of the sessions.
Yeah, so it's really it's just the starting point of what we're really going to do long term. So with the inspiration of and the support of Mike and Margie and the team over at Nadra, they really have a passion for education, as do we do. And so we really get the ability to do what we're doing there because of that association, which is fantastic. Number one, so I got to give them huge shout out. If you're not a Nadra member, like, you absolutely should be a Nadra member. There's so much value in the community, the education, the protocols, like everything they have in place is fantastic. So the DECKx Talks are essentially we're trying to deliver some business knowledge and sales knowledge and operations knowledge into the education. There's a ton of how to build a deck and like tools and strategies for that. They have the outdoor living stage this year at DeckExpo, which is going to have, I think there's like 30 something talks at the outdoor living stage. You're going to be on some talks there. And a lot of that is around the marketing is part of it, obviously, but also the how to build a deck and how to sell and how to design and all that stuff is fantastic. The kind of one of the missing pieces, though, has been like, okay, how do we do the business of deck building? And so the DECKx really was created to do that, was to take some of the fundamental foundational things that we feel like a deck builder or any outdoor living professional should have in their business and package it up into essentially 6 talks that we're going to do for 1 hour at DeckExpo. Now, it's super key here, plug for DeckExpo. You got to have a super pass if you want to attend the education session. So make sure if you get a free ticket, that's great, but you really need to upgrade to, we got a promo code for a free pass. You're really going to want to upgrade to a super pass, though, to be able to attend the different talks that are going on for educational. So who are the DECKx Talks for? Really, ultimately, the DECKx Talks are for the owner, the management level, even some salespeople. That we've got different talks on sales and hiring. One thing we're not technically going to be covering is in kind of the production and operations, like how do you actually scheduling and softwares and things like that. We did some of that last year, but we don't have anything as it relates to, like, if you're a project manager, there'll be value in being in the room for those. But it's really going to be more around hiring, selling strategies, increasing your close ratios, knowing your numbers, having a plan. And I can go into the specifics, but just so in case you're wondering, like, who's it for, it's really mostly for like sales management and ownership level inside of the business. So the rest, everything else you can get is going to be out on the outdoor living stage. So there's something for everybody, but that's specifically what we're going to be diving into. Because the reality is, I'm not in the trenches as far as operations go anymore and production. We teach on those things, but it's just not something that's on the docket for this year. So questions about that? I've got some cool, like, we actually have at each talk, we've got a very specific tool that we're going to be teaching on that we're going to allow everybody to have, and they'll be able to download them while we're there. But yeah, we can dive into the individual talks if you want, or
sure. Yeah. Let's do it. Give us a preview of some of the topics.
Yeah. So one of the biggest struggles that we see with deck builders, number one, is they just don't have a really clear plan, right? Most of our, and that I put me into this case is back in the day as well, is like, my goal was to sell decks and collect checks, sell as many decks as I could and collect as many checks as I could, which is just not a great strategy, right? So the very first talk that we're going to do is fail to plan and plan to fail, the blueprint for business success. And inside of that, we have got a very specific way that we go about setting an annual target for the business and then breaking it down into a quarterly and then even down to a weekly number that we're going to track. And so for that very first talk, we're going to just show you exactly how we do our planning for Legacy Decks and with all of our Academy members. And so you'll actually leave there with what we call our strategic vision and execution plan template, which is kind of a blueprint, a business plan, if you will, for how to plan for your 2025. So timing wise, it's fantastic, right? We're moving into the end of Q4, and it's like, okay, what is 2025 going to look like? So the very first thing, before we talk about numbers and sales and close ratios and design process and hiring, is like, you have got to have a super clear plan that you can refer back to on a constant basis, not just, build it and then set it on the shelf. It's like, we're going to build it and it's going to be our North Star for the entire year. So that'll be the first talk that we're going to do.
That really sets a good stage. So I think, wow, with the timing, guys, what what day and time is that
Yeah.
session?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So that one's Tuesday at 11:30, right? So I think that
Mhm,
opens at 10. I believe
mhm,
that there's some pre-event stuff that's going on. I think there's an MC that'll be doing some announcements and stuff. But yeah, so 10 o'clock, I think the doors open, and then 11:30 we'll have that first talk, and it's an hour long. So
mhm. Sweet. If anyone's listening
yeah.
live, we got a link in the chat to check out all of the sessions, so you can see exactly when the schedule is and everything. So
Yep,
check
you
it
can
out.
also go to nadra.org, and there's a link on there for the expo, and it's got the outdoor living stage talks. It's got a link for the DeckEx Talks, so you can check that out. And while I'm plugging that, there's going to be a networking event Monday night that we'll be at. So if you're around Monday night, Nadra's got an event at
Mhm.
I don't know specifics. It's at
It's a
a
brewery.
brewery, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
But
that
you
should be a
have to
good time.
register for it,
You do
right?
have to register for that. You can
Mhm,
also do that on Nadra's website. So
mhm.
yep,
It'll be
yep.
fun.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. April, I'm curious, like with the builders that you work with, obviously marketing is a big part of the plan, but like, do you feel like a lot of them have a really solid plan, or do most of them come to you kind of like, hey, what is the plan, kind of a thing? Like, where do you feel like they're at as far as like big picture? Do they have budgets? Do they know what they want to spend on marketing? Like that kind of stuff.
No, I gotta be honest, most of the people I talk to don't really have a goal. I almost feel like when they come to me about marketing, it's like this thing they know that they need, but, they're
Yeah,
just kinda curious to learn about it a little bit more, and so I give free
sure.
strategy sessions, and in that session, I say, "Look, like, I wanna point you in the right direction. Obviously, we're a full service marketing agency. If it seems like we can help you and we're a good fit, I can tell you about, a solution.
Yeah,
Regardless, I wanna point them in the right direction, but I can't do that unless I know what their goal is."
yeah,
Because, you can do all kinds of things, but you're not going to invest the right amount of money or put the amount of time into something, if you don't have a vision.
hmm,
So, like, I kinda help them in a lot of ways, I'm
yeah,
like, "Okay, so what I'm hearing is a year from now, if we're talking and you had 2 more you had a project manager and a salesperson, you would then have more time to go and take the vacations you want, right? So
yeah.
is that a good goal? Okay, great. So what is your revenue now and what is it going to take to be able to make that happen? And what do you need
Yeah,
to put in place? If you're
yeah,
not working on your SOPs, work on your SOPs now, even if you're a one-man band,
yep.
because you need to get all that stuff out of your head. But yeah, that's I just went on a tangent there, but yeah. So to answer your question, most people don't
Don't
know. They're
really
just
have
like,
a
"I just
clear
wanna make more
plan,
money.
so
I know
yeah,
I
yeah,
need to
yeah,
do
exactly.
something."
Exactly, exactly. Well, I'm gonna start talking about the next one, but I need to go off camera real quick because I want to grab something to show you. So I can still talk, but the next talk that we're gonna do is on, and you just touched on this, which is the numbers. And most of the people that I talk to, they do not have a clear idea on their numbers. Not only like where they are at currently. Sorry about having to go off camera there, but they don't know what numbers they should be tracking. And so the second talk that we're going to be doing is literally going to be around like what if you want to call them KPIs, key performance indicators, metrics, measurables, but like I kind of compare it to a sporting event. Like how many of us would go to the Super Bowl if we walked in and there was no scoreboard, right? It wouldn't be a very interesting game. There'd be a lot of hitting and be fun to watch, but like without knowing like did we win or not? And so we help the second talk that we're going to do is know your numbers, the key to unlock business growth. Like this is one of the biggest things that I find that people just avoid. Cash flow disguises a lot of the sins of our estimating and our cash management, right? Just because you have money coming in, you're like, okay, we're going to do bank balance accounting. Like there's money in the bank, we're in good shape. But like if you don't have a scorecard, what I call a scorecard or scoreboard to track your numbers, you're really just kind of driving blind. You're making decisions based on false information. And so in this talk, we're really going to help people identify some of the cash flow issues that they have, but then also determine like what numbers should we be tracking? And I know you do this in the marketing end of things, but we've got a tool that we're going to go over with everybody. This is kind of a sample of what it looks like, but
Mhm.
scorecard, like at the
Nice.
very most base level, we've got to be tracking some numbers inside of marketing. we've got to be tracking some numbers inside of sales, and we've got to be tracking some numbers inside of production, right? Like actually doing work. And so inside of marketing, like at the base level, we got to know how many leads we've got coming in. We've got to know how many appointments we actually scheduled. Inside of sales, our sales pipeline, what's our actual sold jobs, deposits collected, production draws, like so on and so forth. So we actually, and this is just a worksheet, but we have a template for a scorecard that we'll give everybody access to at the event that's there, so that they can actually go back and track their numbers on a weekly basis. The challenge that we run into with a lot of deck builders is they come here and they can look back at like all the revenue that's come in, but they don't have an idea of like what's the actual trends on a week-to-week basis. How many leads come in? I can literally go into my scorecard, April, right now and tell you for this year. Let me do that so I'm not telling you guys wrong. But we have got, I just looked at this earlier. We've got 828 leads this year. And
you must have a good marketing agency.
Yeah. So 828 leads this year. We have scheduled 365 appointments, because a lot of those were not leads that we would do, right? Of those 365 appointments, we've run 268 of them. Well, why did we set 360 and run 260? Well, because my appointment setter sets the appointment, and then my salesperson calls and pre-qualifies them. This is stuff we're going to teach at the DeckExpo. And so my salespeople filter out some people that just aren't the right client for us. Of those 268 appointments that we ran, this is boring number stuff, but it's exciting for me. We sold 60 of those people a design and planning fee. And of those 60, we have closed 51 of them. Okay. The others we're still working with, right? So my team has only done 60 estimates this year. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself into one of the other things. One of the next talks we're going to do is how to increase your close ratio to 90%. And that's by only doing proposals for people that are your ideal client. And in our case, they pay us a design fee. And I'm letting a little bit of the cat out of the bag for the talks. But like, I say all that just to say this. Do you feel like I know my numbers a little bit?
Yeah.
Do you feel like I got a scorecard that tells me whether I'm winning or not? Right?
Yeah. And do you do that on a weekly basis to see the health of the business?
Every week.
As a business owner, that's what you need. You need your team to be sending you those numbers, and all you got to do is look at it, and you're like,
I look at
is
the
my
dashboard.
business healthy or not?
I can be in Fiji, I can be in Cancun, I can be in, Timbuktu, and I just have to look at the scorecard. And because I know that, April, I know right now that we average about 22 leads a week, which gleans us 9 appointments a week, which we end up running about 6 of those, because we don't run every appointment, right? So I just like, yeah, the scorecard is so important to be able to make intelligent decisions and know whether you're moving towards your goal. If I set $1 million revenue goal for the year, I've got to collect $50,000 a week. Is that math right? No, $20,000 a week. $50,000 a week. People will be like, you don't know what you're talking about.
It's okay.
Anyways, it's $83,000 a month. So it's about $20,000 a week that you've got to collect to be able to hit $1 million in revenue. And so, but if you're tracking it on a weekly basis, then you know if you're either off track or on track, and you can make decisions based on that. You can reach out for help. Hey, April, like, we're really off track. We need more leads. Like, what can we do? Like, and so it's like, which lever do we pull? But if you don't have the scorecard, and if you don't have your budget, then you have no North Star with the budget, and you have no scoreboard to tell you whether you're winning or losing. And so that's
I'd say
second. Yeah.
I'd say it's like, sorry to interrupt, but it's like running a business reactively instead of or proactively versus reactively. Did I say that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, for sure. You're staying ahead of it. And that's part of our meeting structure. So every week we get together for an hour and a half. And that's the one thing I do inside of Legacy DECKx. Like, literally, that's pretty much the only thing I do is one 90-minute meeting a week. And I just review the dashboard with my leadership team, and I help solve any problems that might need to be solved. But I couldn't do that if I didn't have that guiding light of the budget and the scorecard. So that's the second talk that we're going to do. And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. Do you, if you're comfortable, like, do you see, and I'm sure this is something that's all over the board, but do you see like an average margin that people have for their business before working with you?
Loaded question, but I am totally comfortable answering that question for sure.
Cool.
So
I just think I tell you what, I talked to Pops the other day, and he was like, I feel like everyone should be at 60%,
60% margin, gross margin.
Yeah. Profit margin.
I would love to be at 60% gross margin.
Yeah.
I don't know of any deck builder that's at 60% gross margin. So that would be fantastic.
Yes.
If Pops could sell a bunch of work at a 60% margin, then I would hire him tomorrow. So,
Exactly.
but the reality is that's not what I see. So, so everybody, I'll start by this, and this is something we're going to talk about inside of one of our talks, is like becoming permanently profitable. And inside of that, your margin is really driven by how much revenue you can produce in a year, what your overhead cost is, and what your desired profit is, right? Those three numbers, and I determine your margin. So the variable there that determines your margin is not everybody's revenue is the same, not everybody's overhead is the same, and not everybody's profit desire is the same, right? And I know that's not answering your question, but what I would tell you is this, is that our goal would be for every Academy member to get to a place where they're at least somewhere between 40 and 50% gross margin and making at least double-digit net profits after they pay themselves, right? So your payroll's in the overhead, your payroll's in the overhead column, and then there's still 10 to 15 to 20. If you can get 20%, amen. I haven't gotten there yet, but we're testing it this year. We already hit our budget for the year, and there's still 2 months left, which, if you know anything about numbers, that means that my overhead's already covered, and I've got and my overhead inside of my business, we're at a 46% margin with a 12% net profit, which means my overhead is 34%. I've already covered all 34% minus my sales commission, blah, 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 whatever. But what that means is for the next 2 months, I'm packing almost 20% net margin to the bottom line. So that should take my target of 12%. And really, I think we're getting too deep in the weeds here, but long story short,
but it's to be inspirational and motivational for people. And I think the takeaway is like, dude, first of all, know what your margin is.
Yeah.
And know that you should be at, 40 to 50%. And if you're not, you're losing out on a lot. You're grinding.
Yeah. And I hear guys say like, oh, we're at 50% or 60%. And I'm like, is that after you pay yourself? Well, no. And I'm like, oh, well, then you're really at like 30, maybe 40 if you're lucky, right? Because you have, if you weren't doing the role in the company, someone would have to get paid for that. So, but yeah, so we help them establish that scorecard. But yeah, and it's really kind of, business can get fun when it gets to a place where it's kind of scientific, right? And by scientific, I mean, I know what my numbers are. I know if I get 22 leads a week, that I'm going to get 9 appointments. We're going to run 6 of those appointments. And of those 6, we're going to sell at least 1 or 2 of them a design and planning fee. And of those 1 or 2 that we sell a design and planning fee, we close 80 to 90% of those. And so it's just how many leads do I got to put in the top to generate the appointments, to generate the design fees, to close the sales. Right. So it's scientific and that's, it's fun. Like, and it wasn't always that way. It wasn't fun for a long time. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So, one thing I just want to address or point out, of course, I'm sure people have caught it, but I mean, look, I went to art school, and what was really nice about my school is that they had instructors that were actually doing what they were teaching. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not, and it's not like, and you've failed, you've succeeded, and, you're still at it in a way that, you're seeing changes in the industry and learning new things in your own business that you could pass off to other people. And that's super invaluable.
Yeah. And I mean, it's and I appreciate that. Cause you're right. I'm not doing this from a place of theory. I have an active science lab going on right next door right now. Where we change things, modify things. We're just pushing. We're first time getting over $5 million, right? Just to be totally transparent. And at that point, there's more opportunity for bottom line net profit than under, is what I'm finding, right? Can I teach how to build a $10 million business? Probably, but I haven't built that yet. So, just being totally transparent. But yeah, it hasn't always been that easy. I mean, 2011, I went bankrupt. Like, I had another construction company, filed bankruptcy, kept the business running. But I was that typical status quo contractor where, I couldn't keep up with the quotes that I had to do because I was out there with my bags on, and then I had to take the bags off to go meet with the customer. And then I'd meet with 4, 5, 6 customers because I didn't want to lose the opportunity. And then they'd all be waiting for quotes. And then I was that guy that, I would send off a fake email where I would like, scramble the letters on the thing. It's a whole story I'll tell later.
It's
But
a good
and
story.
and
Come
I
to
would
the DeckX Talks, and I'm sure
yeah,
he'll tell the story. It's really
and I would
good.
fire off these fake bogus emails, not because I was a bad guy. I just couldn't keep up with it all, right? And that was where I was at. I was burned out, and so it wasn't until I really just like, okay, I give up, I surrender, that I got to a place where I was willing to listen to somebody else, pay for some advice, and what the heck, it worked. So
Yeah, good stuff.
yeah.
Well, tell us
So
about some more.
so that's the second talk, which will take place 1:30. So you got 11:30 for the planning talk. We got 1:30 for know your numbers. 2:30, we're going to talk about a cash management strategy we have. I'm not quote unquote a profit first, like approved, whatever coach you want to call it, but I manage my cash that way. And so I'm going to teach people how to become permanently profitable, right? Number one, you got to know your numbers so you know what your margin is. And once you start charging the accurate margin, you should be able to start managing your cash. Now, most people have one bank account, and it's the account that all the money comes in. They pay all their bills, and then they hope at the end of the year there's some cash left in that account for profit. The reality is you don't know what's cash and what's the deposit for the next job and so on and so forth. My goal here is to show guys like how to set up their accounts for cash management, where if you're set up to be a 10, we got a question here. Let's see. I was selling a company with 100% gross margin, hard to place for a salesman. I was selling 35 designs a year through them, but ethics, best not to work for criminals, right? Oh, okay, so they were charging 100% gross margin,
Yeah.
which that's freaking, I can't even imagine that. But yeah, I appreciate that, garden structure.
Let's see. He's got.
But anyway, so we're going to show you
some up
how
here.
to, instead of just having that one bank account, we're going to set up a series of bank accounts where all of your money flows into one account. Every week, we're going to disperse money out of that. And if you have your profit to where you're managing your money correctly, and let's just say for easy numbers, it's 10%, the goal would be to get you to a place where every time you get a check, you're able to take that 10%, put it in a profit account. You're able to take another, let's say 3 or 4%, put it in a tax account, and then the rest of it goes into your operating expense account. And you basically just have to live off of that 87%. And if the business runs out of money in that account, then you know that you're not charging the right amount or you're not managing your money right. Now, you've still got the profit account and the tax account over here if you need to like rob from it. But we show people how to set that up. What's cool about it is when you go into your you go into your banking app on your phone or your computer, whatever, you can go in there and see like, this is how much is in the income account. This is how much in the expense account. This is in the profit account. This is in the tax account. I've got a charity and donations account that's 2%, right? We'll give over $100,000 away this year to whatever I want, because that's something that I'm passionate about. But we're going to show you how to set up those accounts so that it doesn't just all flow into one account and then drain out the bottom and you have no idea where the profit went to. So inside of that one, we're going to actually give the tool that we're going to give away inside of there is the Deck Builder's Profit Blueprint, which is going to kind of show you how to set up those accounts so that you can start managing it. Now, I don't encourage anybody to just start shaving 10% off the top and throw it in an account. Like if you read the book Profit First for Contractors by Sean Van Dyke, which is kind of what I based all this on, start with 1%. 1% in your profit, 1% in your tax, 1% into your savings. So, but I'll go deeper into that at the actual talk. So that'll be the third talk that we're going to give on Tuesday, which is the 12th at 3:30 to 4:30.
So it sounds like you've got some amazing resources that you're going to be giving out. Like you're going to be teaching it and you're also going to be giving them something to implement on their own.
Yeah, and this typically is stuff that we reserve only for our coaching clients. But the reality is, I'm going to teach it, give them the tool. The implementation of it is kind of like DIY, right? Like I'm going to give you enough to be able to go out and utilize it. So yeah, it's technically normally reserved for my inner circle members and my coaching clients, but I feel like it's the right thing to do to just kind of get some of these tools out there and yeah. So yeah, we are going to be giving away some pretty cool tools for people to actually go out and do. The challenge is actually execution, right? Today I had a call with some guys that I'm in an accountability group with, and this thought came up for me, and I think it's worth sharing here, is that you can't outwork your lack of discipline. You can't outwork your lack of discipline. And what I mean by that is I think deck builders are some of the hardest working people there are out there, right? But the discipline of having a plan, of building a scorecard and tracking your numbers, of setting up these cash accounts and these money accounts that I'm talking about. That's a discipline that you cannot outwork. I don't care how many hours you put in, how much work you put in, you cannot outwork your lack of discipline. And so a lot of times when, I hire coaches for accountability to keep me accountable to the things that I normally may not be disciplined to do. And so that's a lot of what we do here. So anyways, I thought that was worth sharing because it was a huge revelation for me today. It was like, you can't outwork your lack of discipline.
It's really good. And I think hopefully it alleviates some pressure too that people put on themselves, because it's okay. I mean, we're human,
Right.
and like you can't do it all. I'm the same way. I have to have things on my calendar. I realized lately, this was a revelation I had today. I have to block out resting on my calendar. Can you freaking believe that?
April,
But yeah.
I can show you my calendar right now, and from 10 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. it shows sleep in my calendar. It's a time block in my calendar. It literally is. So amen. I appreciate that too.
All right, tell us some more. I hope everyone that's listening is seeing how valuable this is and completely worth the time to even go, in my opinion, to the DeckExpo for this. Are all the sessions on Tuesday?
There's 3 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's great, because then you could, fill up your cup with knowledge and then go.
Yeah. There's an hour. There's basically an hour between each talk, so you can hit the show floor, and just hit the talks that make the most sense, obviously. And I believe Nadra is going to be. I'm actually bringing a camera crew to record them all, and Nadra is probably going to have them up for future for people to be able to access and leverage. So,
Sweet.
yeah. So next up, I already kind of talked about this, so I'll go briefly. But we're going to give you guys our planning and design template. So when my guys go out to sell a deck, I talked about the 90% close ratio, and that's the outcome of this talk, is how do you increase your close ratio to 90%? And we do that by having a planning and design process. Now, not everybody's ready for it, and I'm not going to recommend everybody just jump right in and start doing this, but I'll talk about that more at the talks. But essentially, my guys and gals aren't going out to sell a deck. They're going out to educate the customer and sell them on a planning process, because most customers don't have a really clear plan or a design a lot of times for their project. And so I'm not going out to sell you a deck. Like I'd really like to help you engineer a project that works for your budget. So the first step for us is our design and planning process. So we're going to give you guys the template that we use. It helps lower the risk with the customer and build authority. Everything we try to do with our branding, with our marketing, with our website is lower risk, increase authority. And to do that, this design and planning process basically outlines what do they get. I should have grabbed this too to show as an example. What do they get for the design fee that they pay us? Now, we charge $1,000 for it. Other members in our academy do less than that. But the reality is a certain amount of time goes into creating a plan and a proposal and a design. We should be paid for that. There's no other trade in the world that I can think of that does as much free work as contractors. Again, the hardest working people out there. Your plumber's not going to do it. Your mechanic's not going to do it. Your doctor's not going to diagnose your heart for free. Like all of these trades, they charge to do this. And so we believe that at some point that's the right step for most people to do. Plus, that's where that close ratio comes in, right? We base it on how many people pay that design fee. So inside of the design and planning template, we tell them exactly what they're going to get. They get a design, they get a plan. We show them the template of the proposal they get. We show them the design that they get. They get a feasibility study where we contact the municipality to see that we can actually do it. There's no setbacks or floodplains and things like that. And so we just kind of pack in as much value as we can, kind of stack the value so that they're like, oh, for $1,000, why wouldn't I do that? So we're going to share that template, and we're also going to share like how do we actually do that. And here's the best part about that talk. I just glanced down, is that Nick Stevens and Lacey McGee, who are sales reps here at Legacy. Lacey is just getting ready to cross the 2.5 million mark for this year, and she's a first-year sales rep. Nick just crossed $1.5 million. He's done about 10 million in sales in his career, but they are going to be on stage talking about how they do it. Because guess what? I don't sell decks. I don't sell design fees. Like I can talk from theory on that, but I've got the actual case studies that are doing it will be on stage to share and answer questions about it, like what's working, what's not working for anybody that's going to be there. So super excited about that one, to bring the team up into that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. So John Lee from DeckX South was on the podcast this week, and he also talked about charging for designs. And
Mhm.
I think what's really important about some of these events and stuff like Deck Expo is getting people together to really learn from each other and what you're doing. And I just want to encourage people to do something like that or consider it, because why is everyone working for free?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You guys deserve better than that. So, yeah, I mean, that's two people I've talked to this week that,
Yeah.
are trying to change the industry.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really is. The world of like a free estimate needs to go away. Like an estimate is like, hey, based on my knowledge, you're going to be about 25 to 30,000. That's an estimate.
Mhm.
If you want a
Mhm.
proposal, that takes several hours to do, and I have to get paid for that time, right? Which
Mhm.
is why we ran 268 appointments so far this year. We've only done 60 proposals, right?
Mhm.
Some people that I have in the academy come in and they're like, we did 300 proposals this year. Well, no wonder you're overworked and overwhelmed. Well, because you're constantly just doing How many jobs did you sell? 50. It's like you should have only been really anyway. So we go into all that, and we're going to share more in
Mhm.
detail at the Deck Expo for sure. That one's the first talk on Wednesday morning at 11:30. Again, I think the show opens at 10, so it starts at 11:30.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep. Yep.
And I think what I would like to prod at with that too is like you understand who your ideal client is.
Hmm.
And so you're going to make sure that it's a good fit, and your ideal client wants an amazing outdoor living space, not just
Yeah.
a cookie cutter deck, right? So
Right.
knowing that is going to help you refine your messaging, your processes, all of that stuff so that you
Yeah.
could get tighter and tighter and tighter.
But here's the thing: whether you're building like elaborate outdoor living spaces or cookie cutter decks, it still takes time to do it. We had a call with one of our pro members, which is kind of our entry level program yesterday, Joshua, and he said he spends about 4 hours on a proposal. And I said, okay, well, what's your time worth? And he said, well, it's worth about $100. I was like, well, then you need to figure out a way to show that there's enough value in what you're going to provide that it's $400 for your design and planning. And don't even put the design in there. If you're not doing designs, just tell them it's $400 for our planning and proposal process. But I'll tell you this, our average project this year right now is just over $100,000. Didn't always used to be that way. It used to be, we went from, 15 to 20 to 25 to 50 to 75. So even back when it was those lower dollar amount, more basic deck projects, we were charging less for the planning and design. And we were literally doing them in-house on Landscape Architect, which is not the fanciest program out there. You can do some cool stuff with it, but my 15-year-old could probably learn it in about 30 minutes and put out a good enough looking design that sets you apart from the competition. And so don't feel like you have to be doing these super elaborate, fancy, like every job that you bid takes time. How much time is it? How much is that worth to you? Explain to the customer why there's value in that. It's going to position you as more of authority in your space.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yep. So
All right. Well, garden structure, if you didn't see, Chris is right. He's bang on. Is that a Canadian thing? I don't
I don't
know.
know. Bang on. I
Okay, we're
like
gonna
it.
say it's a Canadian thing. Bang on. Okay. Haven't disagreed with the single point. Attend that seminar. Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep
So,
going. We got 2 more sessions you're gonna do, right?
oh my
And
gosh, we
I
got
like that
so
it
so much
seems
to cover.
like
And not
I know, it seems like each session builds upon the previous, right? So it's
yeah.
linear. So
Yeah.
that's you gotta go to all of
Yeah.
them, guys.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Well, I'd love for you to come to all of them, but
Mhm.
so the next one I'll just kind of cover real quick because we've gone into it. But the tool that they're going to get is our markup and margin calculator. So we talked about knowing your numbers and having a scorecard. But what we're not going to teach in that class is actual practical, like this is how you build out an operations budget. This is how you determine what your net margin and your gross profit should be. So we're going to give our markup and margin calculator, which is a super simple tool that you just have to plug the data into, and it's going to give you the ability to see, like, this is what I should be charging. The challenge that we're trying to solve here is a lot of deck builders, they survey the industry, like, what should I be charging? What's the average markup and margin and gross profit, like you mentioned earlier? And again, the reality is like everybody's will be different. And so you can't survey the industry. You've really got to get to a place where you actually have a clear budget and know what your markup is going to be. So I won't spend a bunch of time on that one, but that class is going to be at 1:30, super valuable. We're going to show you guys how to actually estimate projects with the right markup, and stop having to try to figure out like, well, I should charge this. Some guys I talk to, they're like, well, I mark up my labor 15% and then my materials 10. And then I'm like, we just need one flat number, mark everything up that it's going to cover your overhead. You're going to be profitable. So numbers aren't super fun or sexy, but they can be exciting. So we're going to try to make it exciting for everybody. The last talk that I'll talk about, which is a key thing, and everything builds on itself, April, right? I talked about you've got to have a plan. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to have a scorecard. One of the last things in the system is like, you've got to build a team of A players, right? Unless you want to continually be doing everything yourself. And this one, Amy's actually going to be teaching this one because she's the master behind our entire hiring process. And she's going to also bring on the stage two of our deck builders, Josh Ferry with Lakeside Decking and Bruce and Judy Verblau with New Jersey Decks, who have gone from a place of doing everything in their business to where they're now stepping back and have in-house administrative assistants, bookkeeper, both have salespeople, both have project managers, and none of them are in the field anymore, right? And so we're going to show how they went from doing all those things to implementing our hiring process. So you're not only going to hear from Amy, who's going to say like all the great things that we've done, but you're going to hear from two members. Josh went from bags on 2 years ago, doing, under $500,000 to tracking to do $2 million this year, has his first office, the whole staff team. Like it's fantastic. He's a huge success story. Same with Bruce and Judy as well. So that'll be the last one. And inside of that one, we're going to give you guys our deck builder hiring matrix. Like, how do we go about hiring people? Like I talked about before, I created a system, or Amy created a system that Jonathan could hire my project managers with us being 16 hours away in another world, So we're going to share that. That'll be the last talk that we do there. So.
All right. I'm going to post. So for anybody that is listening, if you're not able to actually attend DeckExpo, which I don't know what your reasoning is going to be, but there is, I've got a promo code where you could get a free pass. The promo code is 119754. Just go to the Pool and Spa and DeckExpo website and register and put that promo code in. But if you're not able to attend, I do want you to, I'm assuming legacydecksacademy.com would be the best place for people to go to learn more about what you taking some of these discussions and, helping other builders through the academy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love to talk to people. So, if you find me on social media, which is at official Chris Breen, or Legacy DECKx Academy also has an Instagram, you can book a call on there to do a quick 20-30 minute call where we can help diagnose some of this stuff with you. We share some free tools with you guys. So yeah, love to just help people. The industry as a whole, we are some of the hardest working people out there, and we really need to be compensated appropriately for it, right? Not just in money, but in time and reduced stress. Like, that's just the reality of it. So, I'd like to help anybody I can.
I want to say one thing about DeckExpo, because I'm in all the Facebook groups, and I talk to a lot of deck builders, and I've asked, who's coming and all that stuff. And I've heard a couple of people say, I don't really go anymore. Like, I've been a few times and haven't been in a couple of years. It's just kind of the same thing every time. No, it's not. And I'm going to tell you, it hasn't been the same since Chris has started doing the DeckX Talks. Yeah. And this year is going to be totally different. That there's so much more focus on the DeckExpo portion of the event. Even just having the stage with all of the discussions there. And then obviously the DeckX Talks and Nadra doing their happy hour on, and there's just a million things going on. And the truth is, you guys need to take the time to connect with other people. I think when I go to these events, that's what it's about for me. That's what I leave with, is like inspiration and new ideas and stuff like that from the people that I talk to. Do you want to share anything on how you think people could get the most out of it?
Yeah, I think the challenge that some of us kind of run into, and I'll lump myself into this, is over the years, is like, we're running so hard. And then these events come up, and if we do come, a lot of times we're just using it as a time to like let our hair down and just have a good time, which is great. Like, I promote, like, do that Monday night at the Nadra event, do that in the evenings. But like, leverage the time that you're there to learn as much as you can. I bring, even before we were doing the DeckEx Talks, I would bring people from my team. So bring people from your team so that they can learn without you having to be the one to teach them. If you've got the ability to do that, right? If you don't, you come and learn and take it back to them, and next year implement some of this stuff and be able to afford to bring them back. But I would say, the manufacturers reps and everybody, like they always like to wine and dine and all that, and that's fantastic. But be very intentional. I typically, before I go to an event like this, and I'll use IBS as an example, the reason I refer to Sean Van Dyke is because before IBS about 4 years ago, I reached out to him on social media and I said, hey, can I buy you dinner one night at IBS? We're both going to be there. And I had dinner with Sean Van Dyke, which I consider to be like a celebrity for me. He's got a book and he's cool. And so, but be intentional. So I set up dinners every night when I'm there with the people that I want to try to make sure that I connect with. But during the day, man, that's time to work. That's time to leverage the investment that you're making to be there. You're taking time away from your family. It costs you money. Like get to the outdoor living stage, get to the NADRA booth, network with people, learn what you need to learn to close the gap from where you are to where you want to get to. That's what this is all about. And so the DeckEx Talks, the outdoor living stage, the networking, you're never going to be in a room with more people that are where you want to be than at DeckExpo. So come and learn from those people. It's super inexpensive in the big picture, between the tickets and the airfare and all that. Like that's what I would say. Like have a good time, but really leverage the amount of education. And DeckExpo is nothing like it used to be 3 or 4 years ago. Like it's every year. Like NADRA is really pushing to make this thing as valuable as possible. And so just support it by being there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the folks at NADRA, they are so passionate about this industry, and they just, you guys have no idea how hard they work. They freaking put in their blood, sweat, and tears into this industry and just really care about moving it forward. And they're just constantly adding new things and innovating and trying to do as much as they can to support all you guys. So I do want to challenge everybody to change your way of thinking if you're, not seeing the value in it. And I think Chris had some really great feedback on how you could get the most out of it. So we'd love to see you guys there. We'll both be there. I'm going to be on stage too. I'm running a couple of the deck specialist panels. As a moderator, I'm going to be speaking with a couple other marketing agencies up on stage together. We're going to be talking about some really great strategies you can do to move your business forward with marketing. I have my own talk on a business growth playbook. So I'm going to be talking about advanced marketing strategies and things to think about for this digital age that we're in. And then I'm really excited. We're going to do a panel for women in the industry. And I think we have 5 ladies that are going to be up there. I want to encourage everybody to attend that session. And I'm going to engage with the audience too. I'm a moderator for that. So make sure that you come, and we're going to have a microphone in the audience, and we want to hear from everyone. We've put all of the talks for DeckEx Talks, as well as the talks that I'll be doing within our Facebook group posts or comments, and you can definitely go on it sounds like you said NADRA has a link to see all of the DeckEx Talks, and then of course the pool, spa, and patio website, where they have all of the events and speaking sessions and the entire schedule. Again, let me throw this up here. We've got the promo code to get your ticket, 119754. Any last words? Any final tips for our listeners?
No final tips. Get your super pass, number 1, so you can attend the DeckEx Talks, and I think there's something cool going to come down the pipe real soon. The decking industry is like one of the last industries out there that doesn't have any kind of accreditation to it, right? Like, how do you can't be you can be a master plumber, you can be a master electrician, but like you can't be a master deck builder, right? And so that's something that we're working hard on with NADRA to really correct. There is like, how can we get an accreditation system in place? And so just a little kind of like sneak peek that's part of like this education push is really building towards that. Is like, how do you become certified as like these are all that, along with the awards, are all things that can help be leveraged inside of your marketing, right? So anyway, so just a little sneak peek.
Love
That's all
it.
I got.
Love it. Love it. Super busy.
Yeah, no question about it. So, April, I
And
appreciate it so much. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, for sure. We're Deck Builder Marketers is going to have a booth there. Come visit us at 4905, and I'm going to have free copies of my new book, the Deck Builder Marketer Playbook. So stop on by, get your copy, and we got some other goodies there. But we'll see you in a week.
All right. Well, if
I
I
can't
can't get by
believe
the
it.
booth, I'll be pretty tied up. If I don't get by the booth, you need to save me a signed copy.
Oh,
So
I'll save you a copy.
I'll do my best though.
All right, awesome. Thanks for
All
being
right.
on.
All right. Thanks.